Joining us now is Bret Baier from your Fox News channel. Hello, Bret. How are you?
Good morning. I didn't even really want to ask what the direction was.
You really do not want to ask.
Okay,
We're going forward.
We're looking forward. Thank you so much, though, for creating a diversion.
Okay.
All right. Listen, Russian troop movements near Ukraine raising concern. There are reports that there may be Russian soldiers at some of the key airports in the Crimean Peninsula. What do you think about this? How does the administration handle such adventurism by the Russians?
Yeah, I think this is a really big deal, and I think this is a really big headache for the administration. You had Secretary John Kerry the other day saying the U.S. Is warning Russia that it needs to really be careful and that there will be consequences, but the U.S. has no interest in escalating this, and this is not Rocky IV, he said. Here's the problem, is that Rocky IV, 1985, great movie. Stallone, Rocky Balboa up against Ivan Drago, and Rocky wins in the end. And the problem is, I think, Vladimir Putin didn't like that movie.
Yeah.
And he may be wanting to try to have Ivan Drago win this time. And I don't see a way that you just say it without some kind of, not saying that there's some kind of military action, but there has to be some unified action with the EU or NATO or something.
Let me ask you, you've covered the White House. Is this something where the President of the United States should come to the podium and make a very direct and straightforward statement telling Vladimir Putin to back down?
Well, it's getting to that point, I think, because it's tough to imagine that these forces in Crimea are not Russian forces. Everything we're hearing anecdotally from the Associated Press and other wire services is that they're highly trained professional soldiers dressed in black. They are taking over buildings. They are throwing grenades. They are moving professionally through these towns and the airport. Then they are taking over the buildings and putting up a Russian flag. Now, you can make the assumption that they're just Russian separatists and they're acting on behalf of Mother Russia, or you can make the assumption that they're really acting on behalf of Mother Russia at the behest and order of Vladimir Putin. And I think it's probably easy to make that jump.
Bret Baier, I think it's fair to say that the president would prefer to focus on domestic issues than foreign affairs at this point. I know that he's got a pretty aggressive agenda for his year of action. But when you see this sort of thing happening and Vladimir Putin taking such strong action, it appears, in the eastern side of Ukraine, and the president sort of not really moving the ball forward from his side, is he in danger of this fitting into the perception that in world affairs he leads from behind and ultimately the world will not be safer at the end of his 8 years?
Yes. Just talking to talking to diplomats in the Middle East, particularly with the situation in Syria, Iran, elsewhere, there is a sense of disengagement. There is a sense of the U.S. pulling back, of the U.S. Not plugging in, not being a part of the discussion even. And
where we used to be the first voice people would turn to.
Yeah.
It's quite a departure.
And it's not just, boots on the ground or that sort of thing. And it's almost a straw man to say, well, we're not for boots on the ground. I mean, nobody is for boots on the ground in Syria. Tell me one person. John McCain is not for boots on the ground in Syria. But there is... it's an interesting argument that the administration sets up. It's this: we're not for boots on the ground, and then therefore we're for nothing. And it's, but I'll tell you, the critics jump. But being president in situations like this is a tough time to be president.
Let me change directions, and I never want to put you in a position of having to comment on other people's reporting, but the Daily Caller has a story out this morning. I know you probably have seen it, and then the headline is, a 2016 bombshell, and the subheadline is, Whispers persist that Hillary won't run because her health is worse than disclosed, but Clinton camp insists she's at 100%. I mean, do you hear whispers in Washington that maybe, for whatever reason, Hillary may not have the fire in her belly for a presidential run?
Yeah, I mean, we hear that all the time. I mean, we hear the possibility that that's happening. Carl Cameron did a piece the other night, what if Hillary doesn't run for one reason or another, not the reason why. But the going consensus is that the machine is operating at full steam, and that everybody has been tapped, and that everything is on track. That said, everyone that I talk to privately in Clinton land, fundraisers and other people, will tell you that there's always a pretty big caveat. It's like 70-30. And, a lot of it has to do with health and her personal decision.
Bret Baier, today is the first day of exhibition play for the Washington Nationals. So this next question, I think, is akin to sort of lobbing a softball over the plate and letting you knock it out of the park. The Republicans have narrowed down the possible cities for the 2016 convention. They include Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dallas, Denver, Kansas City, and two cities that are known for very good golf courses, Bret Baier,
right.
Las Vegas and Phoenix. So if you had to choose, just from your perspective, having to go and cover the thing, where would you like to go?
That's a good question. I don't obviously make the call, but I think...
And no disrespect meant to the other cities that you don't name.
Cities, yeah. It's funny that there are so many Ohio cities in the mix, isn't it?
Wonder why?
Isn't that something? I mean, they might as well just put all the Ohio cities.
I mean, do you really want to have your convention at a city known as the Mistake by the Lake?
I don't think Columbus is known for its golf courses and country clubs, Bret Baier.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Oh, really?
You'd be surprised. The
All
Ohio
right.
State, Muirfield.
I've asked you not to mention that college down South's name on my show. Please stop that. I'm wearing my Michigan hat right now.
I think if I'm going to bet, and this is apropos, I think Las Vegas ends up being the spot.
Wow.
But listen, that's rife with opportunity.
All those politicians and media people in Vegas, what
baby.
could go wrong?
Yeah, could possibly go wrong.
I think it actually ends up being the spot. Nevada being an early state, I think there will be a lot of there's obviously a lot of hotel opportunities.
Yeah.
And I bet either Vegas or Phoenix would be.
Bret Baier's money is on Vegas, baby.
We got to leave it right there, Bret. Thanks a lot, buddy.